What's up guys, this is anime crossover. I'm back doing an episode of Naruto with the King of All Saiyans Part 9. And if you did enjoy the video, consider a like and if you enjoy and like my content, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more crossover affections. Now let's begin this new video.
Chapter 41 Naruto got out of bed and discovered that the items Kibo had given him were still in his pocket. Jutsu's huh. Naruto scratched his chin. Their techniques are so much more refined than ours. I wonder if we can do something similar with ki. Naruto took the Immortal Elixir from his pocket. The juice was kept in a beautiful golden gourd with a simple cork. When Naruto opened it, he noticed that the area inside the gourd greatly outperformed the space outside of it. Naruto opened his eyes as he sniffed the liquid and exclaimed, "Smells good." His voice jolted the Saiyan queen out of her slumber. Bulma opened her eyes to see Naruto's clothes in dreadful condition. "What happened?" she exclaimed, leaping to her feet. "Did you work out last night?" "I met a strange fellow from another reality." Naruto smiled. Naruto then went on to relate everything that occurred when he was summoned. "At first, I thought it was a dream, but not only is the damage still visible, but the objects he gave me are still in my pocket space. This is supposed to extend the lives of anyone who drinks it by several thousand times their base lifespan, and since Saiyans can live comfortably up until they reach around 140 to 180 years, the effects will be even greater for us," Naruto explained, holding the cup of Immortal Elixir up to Bulma. Bulma hurriedly sipped the cup of wine after hearing about its youth-preserving properties and felt a chilly sensation spread across her entire body. The therapeutic benefits of the wine then forced impurities from her body and covered her in a thick sludge that smelled like sewage. Naruto ran into the bathroom while holding his nose with one hand and grabbing Bulma's waist with the other. Naruto quickly tossed his wife into the shower and started on the hot water. Bulma struggled to keep her distaste at bay as Naruto began to wash away the filth that had accumulated on her skin. Naruto noticed smooth skin beneath the grime as the soap and water wiped away the muck. It was as soft as jade and as flawless as a diamond. Naruto was surprised to discover that Bulma's appearance had improved significantly. The Saiyan King's face flushed as he gazed at his goddess-like wife before downing a cup of wine himself. Naruto, like his companion, was covered in a thick slime that stinked to high heaven. Bulma aided him and immediately began to wash his body. The Saiyan King saw that his cells, bones, and skin were brimming with life that he couldn't entirely explain. He could feel his vital energies had considerably increased in comparison to the past, but it was even more than he expected. Each of his blood cells felt as if they had been charged with electricity. Naruto knew his lifespan had increased significantly. If he had to guess, it was now roughly 1,520,000, which was an 8,000-fold increase in his overall lifespan. Bulma took the opportunity to note that Naruto's appearance had also improved. The two married couples exchanged glances before Naruto made his approach. Bulma's legs crawled around his hips as he fiercely kissed her. Again, Bulma expressed amazement. "What else can I say? I'm so full of vigor that we could go 100 times, and I'd still be unsatisfied. Especially because my already hot wife has suddenly gotten hotter." Naruto smirked as he boasted. Bulma blushed and kissed Naruto until she couldn't control her moans any longer. Naruto and Bulma departed the restroom feeling more rejuvenated than ever before, having worked until the water became chilly. Bulma laughed as the Saiyan King's stomach growled. Her stomach growled as well, prompting Naruto to tease her in return. Bulma's parents were surprised to see them looking slightly younger, with soft skin and improved appearances, when they returned downstairs. They chuckled a little while eating breakfast before discussing how they managed to modify their appearances so significantly, and since Kibo had handed Naruto a few thousand barrels of Immortal Elixirs inside a spatial gourd, he had some to share. Naruto stocked up on wine bottles and gave one to his in-laws. As they dashed off to the showers, Dr. Briefs and his wife gulped a cup of the elixir almost instantly. When they returned, Dr. Brief's youthful body miraculously reappeared, revealing to Naruto that he was quite the gorgeous man in his youth. Panchi, on the other hand, hardly changed at all. Her appearance improved slightly, but her age did not. "Can you give this to the rest of the Z-fighters for me?" Naruto said, shaking his head. "Going somewhere?" Bulma asked, nodding her head. "There are some things I need to test out," Naruto remarked with a smile. "I'll take this to Kakarot's family before heading to the training grounds for a few days." Bulma kissed him on the cheek and said, "Take care." "Do you call that a goodbye kiss?" Naruto asked as he drew her into his arms. Naruto pressed his lips on hers and kissed her passionately. Panchi let out a joyful, "Oh my," Can we expect the third grandkid anytime soon? Bulma blushed as Naruto licked his lips and added, maybe, it depends on whether my lovely wife is up for it. When Naruto teleported out of there and paid a visit to Goku, Bulma's face turned as ripe as a tomato. Hey, Kakarot, Naruto yelled out the front door. Chi-Chi replied with a smile, good morning, Naruto. Goku is currently in the training fields. Would you want to come in and eat while I bring him here? No, that won't be necessary, Naruto said, shaking his head. I'll join him in a minute. I came over to give you guys a gift. Naruto then produced a new bottle of wine for them. Chi-Chi was thrilled to test it out after hearing about its effects. Make sure you get in the shower before you drink this, Naruto advised before departing to join Goku within the Earth's timeless training grounds. Naruto sensed Goku's great power as he entered the domain. So you finally managed to properly achieve true Super Saiyan God Green, Naruto said as he approached his competitor. Yeah, it was a bit difficult stopping my emotions from spiraling out of control, but now that I have a rein on my powers, I can easily control this form, Goku smiled, scratching the back of his head. Naruto tossed him a cup of Immortal Elixir and ordered, drink that. Goku sniffed it, and although he was not a big drinker, he couldn't resist the temptation after smelling it. He then extended his mouth wide and gulped down the cup of wine in one rush. Goku licked his lips in approval, a pleasant and contented expression on his face, while Naruto smiled mischievously. It just took a few seconds, but after Goku was covered in muck, Naruto burst out laughing. Ew, it stinks worse than poo, said Goku, disgusted. Naruto performed a water ball spell that he combined with soap before splashing Goku. Then, while employing a wind spell to dry his clothes, Naruto snickered at Goku until he couldn't anymore. Laughing even more at Goku's appearance, the Saiyan raised on Earth resembled a washing and drying machine. Very funny, Naruto, Goku pouted as Naruto lay on the ground, unable to stop laughing. Snark, okay, Kakarot, giggle. We have a new form, we should train until we master it. Naruto sighed, ensuring that he had stopped laughing. He then charged up to true Super Saiyan God Green and stood in front of Goku, ready to fight. Bring it on, Goku exclaimed. For several years, the two warriors fought inside the timeless training grounds. After a few days outside, Naruto and Goku emerged from the pocket universe numerous times stronger than before. They had successfully mastered Super Saiyan God Green, and during practicing, the two had discovered something astonishing about their newest god form. As long as they fought, their base power would gradually and inexorably rise. The tougher the opponent, the faster they increased in strength. The impacts only slowed once their power levels were balanced. Naruto was impressed and realized why the legendary Super Saiyan form was thought to be the most genuine in Saiyan physiology. It was like having a Zenkai boost without having to get harmed. All that was needed was a more powerful opponent. Aside from that, they worked hard to raise their Super Saiyan 4 multipliers to 20,000. When Goku returned home, he noticed that his wife looked like a bombshell that would make any man drool. Chi-Chi, in turn, noticed his changes and blushed as if a fire had been kindled in her cheeks. They planned to enjoy each other's company for a few days while Naruto rushed out there. They had a good time once he was gone. Naruto returned to planet Salada to summon Ryujin. His initial wish was to gain a better grasp of the energy network in his body. The second was to give and transfer all of the knowledge from Kibo's library's jutsus and cultivation methods into something usable for his universe's laws. As Naruto sat the Dragon Balls back inside his training grounds residence, all of the methods immediately became clear to him. Naruto sat down and began going through all of the techniques and findings he had made regarding his own internal energy network. Naruto was surprised to discover that he, too, could make origin energy replace his present ki energy kind. Origin energy is the most potent form of energy in each universe for mortals, immortals, and gods alike. They are a perfect synthesis of the Trinity energies: ki, body and soul, mental, mind, and life force, vital energy, are three types of energy. Mana could be thought of as an outsider energy. While they could create their own mana, it originated from an entirely different source than the Trinity that all universes share. Naruto was disappointed to learn that he only possessed one Dantian. Unlike Kibo's world, which had three, his single Dantian was above his navel, and they're known as ki centers in this world. He discovered that by combining mental energy, ki, and life force, he could create origin energy. Origin energy exists in every universe in reality. It was the apex of all its powers before their separation. Origin energy existed if the cosmos had an origin. Naruto had mana as well, and he was intrigued to see whether he could combine the two. The Z fighters were overjoyed as they headed to the training grounds to cultivate this new form of energy. Everyone practiced inside the timeless training grounds for the following few months. Fortunately, because they enjoyed endless youth while practicing in the pocket realm, they didn't have to worry about losing track of time. While they were training, Naruto informed Krillin that achieving a superhuman state was achievable. All it took was a unique training regimen. He gave Krillin the Dragon Balls, and once he made his wish, the knowledge of how to become a superhuman entered his mind. Krillin and the humans were ecstatic. Even though they didn't obtain Zenkai enhancements, they had a faster ki growth rate than the Saiyans. Humans had always been able to raise their base ki to outrageous levels, pushing the Saiyans to go super and above to keep up. The best example is Krillin. In the Saiyan saga, he trained for a year and improved his power by more than 8 times. While this may not seem like much, it is around half the advantage Goku received for training in 10 times gravity. With only mental fighting, he was able to nearly double his power in the 6 months it took him to reach Namek. There was no genuine battle training or routine physical workouts between him and Gohan because the ship couldn't bear the strain. If Krillin had spent the entire time training in a gravity chamber like Goku, he might have been able to completely outperform Goku. It took Goku 6 days to reach Namek and enhance his strength level by a minimum of 6 times and a maximum of 9 times, depending on how much Zenkai he received during his fight with Naruto. Krillin traveled to Namek for 6 months. One can only imagine how powerful he might have been if he had access to a gravity room. Even if humans took longer to adjust to gravity training, Krillin could have continued to push himself 100 times with Gohan and train in it for a long time. On Namek, he rose from roughly 3,000 to 75,000 after his secret potential was unlocked. It increased considerably more during his battle with Frieza. Krillin needed to have at least a fourth of Frieza's power to chop his tail off in second form. After being killed by Frieza and witnessing his best buddy attain power that he could never hope to match, Krillin lost trust in his ability as a fighter and suppressed his own potential for the remainder of Dragon Ball Z. Sparks of his potential could be seen when he attacked Imperfect Cell with a headbutt that genuinely injured him, and most recently, when he stood toe-to-toe with Gohan and Goku in Super. Krillin might go even further today by stacking his Kaio Zenkan with his techniques. After several years of training with the tools Naruto provided them, the Z fighters significantly outperformed their previous selves. Naruto was certain that even the weakest of humans could smack around most Kais like they were chew toys these days. XXXXXXXXXXX age 774 time passed slowly. For the next 7 years, the Z fighters grew in anticipation of Fu's return. However, it never arrived. It came to be that the inaugural Universal Tournament would be held on planet Salada. The strongest under the heavens tournament was attended by Earth, Salada, and a few other races of the universe's mightiest fighters. Salada's population skyrocketed during the years of peace. Because of their ability to procreate with other species and transform them into Saiyans, their colony grew to millions. It also contributed significantly to their future gene pool, so he wasn't concerned about inbreeding or genetic dead ends. Many warriors on Earth had learned ki control. Not only was mastering one's ki popular, but it was also beneficial to one's health. Therefore, many humans practiced it even if they weren't fighters. Based on Grandpa Gohan, one may estimate how long martial artist lived. He was 104 years old and could move around like a 40-year-old with superpowers. Of course, Gohan had returned to his prime after drinking the elixir of immortality. It was unusual to see an automobile on the roadway these days. The majority of individuals just flew to work utilizing ki or advanced technology. The most powerful Earthlings were largely from the Kame school. The graduates always fulfilled the conditions for GP membership. They could sell their paychecks to their government in exchange for a higher quantity of Earth cash if they earned space currency, making working for the Galactic Police an extremely appealing job. The majority of the money was used to purchase space-age equipment and information, with the remainder going to Earth's Defense Force. A new military army in the universe defends Earth's sanctum and all of its residents. Naruto had seized this opportunity to announce the start of his competition. He waited until the Earth's competition ended but did not participate. Naruto made his announcement after it was all finished, and Lazuli was once again being bribed by Hercule to keep him as Earth's champion. She does this every year. The girl likes taking money from that chump, Naruto thought as he shook his head. At the very least, Hercule is much stronger than he was in canon. A power level of 1 million isn't terrible for his lazy ass. Budokai Tenkaichi became more popular than ever before since martial arts never went out of vogue. With the finances provided by the GP, Earth's government was able to make the contest a yearly fiesta rather than the regular 5-year event. When Naruto searched for the Kais on Earth, he found no trace of Babbidi's soldiers or his spacecraft. He never found anything, no matter how long he scoured the world with his senses. Naruto was becoming upset since he couldn't find it when he had the notion, would Babbidi ever come to Earth? Sure, it was less visible than going to Salada, but my planet has a greater level of fighters. Could he be camping out on Salada? Wondered Naruto, looking up at his planet in the distance. While the announcer crowned Hercule the winner, Naruto interrupted to remind the audience that the Strongest Under the Heavens event would be held on planet Salada in a week. The crowd recognized Naruto and cheered as the king of the Saiyans appeared. Before the horde of reporters could approach him, Naruto transported back to Salada. When Naruto arrived at his castle, he sent his senses out and sensed something was different on his planet. He laughed as he glanced off into the horizon, as if he'd figured it out. "I'm ready for you, Babbidi," Naruto remarked, turning around after spending the previous week preparing or spending quality time with his family. When it was time for Naruto's tournament to begin, he flew out with his family and spotted the large audience gathered outside his arena. Naruto quickly scanned the throng of humans, Saiyans, and races from all around the galaxy for any familiar faces with the Majin marking. When 2 Earthlings with the M-shaped seal on their foreheads approached the Saiyan King, he wasn't surprised. They were inside the guest room, registered as fighters. Is it really them? Couldn't he find someone else? While glancing at the hairless youths, Naruto reflected. Babbidi must be trying to avoid attracting the attention of the Saiyans, Naruto thought as he placed his hand on his chin and closed his eyes. Because of their immense might, our fighters would be easy to track down if they went AWOL. So, instead, he must have decided to enter the competition using Earthlings. Naruto was staring at the same 2 pawns that had beaten Vidal and drained Gohan's ki. As the event was about to kick off, he burst out laughing with delight. Naruto sat on the throne at the top of the arena, sending his senses out to find the Supreme Kai. It was exactly as Naruto had predicted. The Kais blended in with the crowd, suppressing their God Ki and fitting in. Many of the combatants who had access to God Ki, on the other hand, noticed their presence this time. Shin was confident of reaching the finals and meeting the king. He did, however, badly underestimate the Saiyan race. Naruto sighed, knowing that this Supreme Kai was terrible at his job. One was partly Beerus's fault because he locked the Elder Kai, leaving Universe 7's Kais without a teacher. The other was his inability to capitalize on the grandeur of the universe. There were many people he could have learned from, but he considered himself superior to those lower-ranking Kais. Naruto didn't judge them too harshly because the Supreme Kais lacked a suitable teacher. Bu was absorbed by the strongest and wisest of the Kaioshin's. They were only oblivious due to the death of the Grand Supreme Kai. The Kais were sorely weak in power and understanding without him. Naruto waited until all of the preliminary tests were completed. To pass the tests he has put up, one must have the necessary strength, wisdom, and constitution. The first stage was a general examination. Those who are scanned are given a rough fight ranking using a Bulma device. They could have used scouters, but power levels were not the only consideration. Some people may have magical skills, psychic abilities, bizarre techniques, or even transformations. Bulma's scanner would thus score a person's talent, strengths, and genetic markers on a scale of 1 to 10. It would also detect illnesses and birth anomalies that could harm the warrior. Naruto was happy with the outcome. Only 8 talents, ranked 1st through 2nd, remained for the Junior League section. Ranch, Trunks, and Goten, who had just turned 13, were still eligible for the Junior League, and even Bulla signed up. The 10 children who passed were Trunks, Saiyan; Goten, Saiyan Bulla; Saiyan Ranch, Saiyan Terra, Earthling; Utura, Earthling Rad; Metamorian Yudo, Yardration; Cello, Namekian Silver Maru, Metalman. As the 10 children approached the platform, the audience erupted in applause. However, there were some reservations about Silver Maru's age. The entire Machine Man issue was called into question. However, after considerable discussion, the alien race informed him that he was just 15 years old. A big, spherical, planet-like ball floated in the center of the stadium. Several floating cameras circled the 100-foot-tall sphere, catching everything in the ring. Behind the cameras was a formidable hard light barrier that resembled the atmosphere of a little planet. Outside the barrier was a spatial scanning gadget equipped with artificial intelligence that could decipher their actions and present a slow-motion replay to onlookers who couldn't keep up with their speed. Bulma's technology was becoming disturbingly insane as a result of all her connections throughout space. The audience consisted of people from all throughout the galaxy: humans, Metamorians, Namekians, Metalman, and Yardratians, both fighters and citizens, lined the spectator seats with eager expectancy. Bulma created special armbands for those who struggled with Salada's gravity. With those on, it would create a skin coating-like field of gravity that they could tailor to their liking. As a result, even people with no training could walk in extreme gravity. Naruto smiled as a very important guest entered the ring after they had taken their places. The man was dressed in a black suit with a red tie, large sunglasses over his eyes, and a recognizable sleek-back blonde hairdo. For consenting to commentate on today's matches, Naruto gave this young man a simple sip of the Immortal Elixir. Despite the fact that he was never given a name, Naruto referred to him as Mr. Announcer. "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen," said the young-looking older as he raised his microphone and extended his arms to the juniors. "We come here on this historic occasion to see the struggle for the strong. Naruto, a Saiyan, came to our world many years ago and opened our eyes. He, like the ancient masters of martial arts, demonstrated the power of Ki and assisted Earth in entering a new era of spaceflight. Now, as neighbors with Earth, King Naruto has chosen to adopt our tradition, and we couldn't be happier to see such a thing happening," the announcer stated, raising his hand to the king's spectator box. "This guy sure knows how to talk," Naruto observed as the announcer exhaled. The World Martial Arts Tournament is also known as the Tournament of the Strongest Under the Heavens. Earth, as you may know, hosts this competition every year. We have witnessed battles that have surpassed all previous records since the spread of the Kame School. Now, on planet Salada, King Naruto has established his own tournament that will take place every 7 years, with the prizes being precious resources for fellow martial artists to get stronger rather than cash." The announcer raised his arms to greet the juniors. "These fine young warriors are the strongest candidates for the Junior League. Trunks briefs, the current Saiyan prince and only son of King Naruto, and our very own Bulma briefs, Earth's very own heiress to the Capsule Corporation." Mr. Announcer then pointed at Goten and added, "This young man is none other than Son Goten, the child of Earth's beloved Ox King's daughter." Trunks threw his hands in the air joyously as the crowd roared. "He is Chi-Chi's son and the former Tenkaichi Budokai Son Goku champion. Who knows what abilities he may have in store for us?" Goten smiled in response to the enthusiasm of the audience, rubbed the back of his head with an uncomfortable face, and bowed several times. "Next in line is the princess of the entire Saiyan race, Bulla briefs," the announcer added. "She is, as you may know, the sole child of King Naruto and Bulma briefs. She is highly brilliant and a wonderful fighter, just like her parents. Let's give it up for the young princess." Bulla raised her fist in triumph. The audience erupted. Naruto's eye twitched, indicating that she had many fans among other martial artists her age. "We have Son Ranch, Son Goten's cousin and Son Goku's niece, up next today. Son Raditz, a natural-born Saiyan, and Son Launch, an Earthling turned Saiyan, gave birth to this beautiful lady. She has repeatedly demonstrated that she is a fighter to be reckoned with. Ranch is a well-known warrior both on Earth and in the Galaxy Patrol. She has worked alongside heroes to bring peace to entire worlds, and now she is competing in the tournament to prove her might to all." The crowd shouted again, and Ranch bent her head with a dominant and confident pose. Terra is a young girl trained by none other than Vidal Satan, the current champion of our Earth's World Martial Arts Tournament. Let us make some noise for Earth's most powerful children. The crowd erupted, especially those from Earth. Although Hercule was far stronger than in the original canon, he wouldn't have his current position or fame if it weren't for lazily wiping out the competitors every year. Another reason he was still champion was that everyone was practicing their fighting skills in preparation for this day. They would have fewer trump cards to play if they revealed themselves on Earth. Anime crossover here. It seems this AI voice is saying Vidal's name incorrectly, not because I'm spelling it wrong, it's because of the language barrier. Vidal was far more powerful than the original canon. As a child, she possessed a power level of 50,000. Her power rose significantly as she grew older and continued her training under the tutelage of the Kame School. She now had billions and was a skilled martial artist who could have trampled her father to death years ago. Lazuli, on the other hand, stood in her path. Vidal's power level was a few million when she was an adolescent, and after years of training alongside the Z fighters, the 17-year-old girl's power level settled at a few hundred billion. Vidal would have been much stronger if she hadn't been so preoccupied with playing hero with Gohan while attending school. Naruto hoped that when they started attending Orange High, they wouldn't have to go through the Saiyaman ritual. However, he was disappointed, and his hopes were dashed. Some things appeared to be unchangeable, and their zany hero shtick was one of them. At the very least, Naruto persuaded them to wear something more fashionable. Naruto instructed Bulma to put everything she had into the costume because he suspected they would be wearing it for a long time. Also, because Gohan didn't interact with the Ginyu Force, he didn't pick up on the goofy stances they did, and he managed to be a really excellent masked hero, even if the heroic words became a little long at times. Naruto had no idea why they were disguising themselves. The teenagers were already famous for being linked to the masters and owners of the Kame School. Nonetheless, Naruto was blown away by Vidal's improvement. It was only logical that her lone student, Terra, would be just as strong as she was. Next up is Yataro, another Earthling taught by a previous World Martial Arts Tournament champion. Krillin, his lord is the one and only, as the gorgeous monk with a buzz cut bowed and waved to the throng, the announcer stated. Once, shortly after the rise of the Kame School's popularity, many people from the Kame style managed to follow in Son Goku's footsteps and snatch victory from the grasps of destiny, becoming victors of the world's martial arts tournament. The announcer said, "The last champion, Krillin, only took one disciple, and this student hopes to emulate his master by winning." Our next candidate is Rad, a young man. He is a Metamorian visiting from Andromeda, our neighboring galaxy. His master is the Grand Master of the Metamorian planet Zihei, and Tien Shinhan, another Kame School student and Earth's World Martial Arts champion. Please extend a warm welcome to Rad, who is visiting from afar. The applause grew louder as Rad bowed multiple times. Yudo is a Yardratian, a mysterious species that has many unique techniques under their belt. He's come here in the hope of obtaining the prize for first place. Yudo excitedly waved his hands in the air as the audience cheered him on. As you know, the Namekian species has actually lived on Earth for a long time, and we discovered, like Son Goku, that they were aliens, not demons. Our fellow Namekians have joined forces with the Saiyans and Earthlings to support this cosmos now that we've reached the stars. Everyone, please give a warm welcome to Cello, the Dragon Clan's newest prodigy. The audience erupted once more. Before the revelation, several individuals knew that the King Piccolo incident had been carried out by a wicked Namekian, not a demon. Our final contestant is Silver Maru, a promising young metalman from a nearby star cluster. They can understand but do not speak the common language. Please, everyone, give the metalman a heartfelt cheer. Silvernoma shook his head shyly, hiding its face behind its giant metallic arms as its face turned scarlet and steam blasted out of pipes near his ears. These fighters have traveled from far and wide to compete for the Junior League's grand prize. The first prize is a single fruit from the Tree of Might and a serving jar of Immortal Elixir. The Fruit of Might is an invaluable resource for those who practice martial arts that can cause one's power to multiply by a factor of 15, the announcer added, while the elixir can add thousands of years to the lives of those who drink it. The audience was once again taken aback. The mere existence of such lucrative resources absolutely blew their heads. Second place will receive a portable training pod capable of controlling gravity up to 1,000 times that of Earth. It also has a variety of alternative training choices, including training bots and Capsule Corp combat androids. Finally, the third place prize is 5 million zeni, said the announcer, nearly feeling the hunger of the other fighters in the crowd. The crowd erupted once more when the roster appeared over the screen. Naruto smiled as he saw the bouts being chosen. Goten and Trunks were the two faces that appeared in the randomized roster. The two began the fight with a barrage of combos that they evaded and blocked. The force of their attacks demonstrated to the audience how powerful these children were in their basic forms. Not bad, Trunks said as he dodged Goten's barrage of blows. I see you've kept up your training. Goten muttered this while avoiding Trunks' barrage of kicks. Goten and Trunks transformed into Super Saiyans and began fighting with all of their power. The audience was taken aback as the two demonstrated their martial arts and key techniques. The stadium was filled with gasps and cheers as the kids fought like pros. Naruto laughed as he noticed Shin and his fellow Kai Kabito's shocked expressions. Explosions and a blinding blast of golden ki rushed out into the audience, only to be absorbed by a tremendous barrier created by the Dragon Balls. It didn't stop the attack since Ryujin lacked the strength to create a barrier that could contain their energies. So, in response to that problem, Naruto devised a solution. Rather than resisting the blows, the barrier absorbed kinetic power and stray ki blasts, allowing it to strengthen over time. The two Kais shuddered as they realized these two teenagers were just as strong as Buu in their mastered Super Saiyan forms. The two fought at breakneck speeds that most onlookers couldn't keep up with. However, owing to the announcer's research, he was able to explain their abilities and attacks so that everyone understood. The conflict persisted, resulting in clashes of powerful explosions each time the two launched an attack. Punches rained down like meteors, kicked faster than any blade of wind, and moved so fast that lightning couldn't keep up. It was a close fight until Trunks raised his hand and yelled, "Hold on a second." Goten paused before asking, "What is it? Why don't you give up? I'm not aiming for first place, just third. When I win, we can split the prize money and buy as many toys and games as we want," Trunks proposed. "Nah," said Goten, shaking his head. "I believe I will take first place. I want the mighty fruit tree." "Grr, remember this. You forced me to do this, Goten," Trunks roared as he morphed into his Super Saiyan 2 form and fired a devastating burning Gallic gun at Goten. Goten retaliated by changing into a Super Saiyan 2 and unleashing his spiral Kamehameha. Trunks and Goten both morphed into their true Super Saiyan God Red forms during the beam battle. The audience was taken aback by their might. The Kais, in particular. They were unaware that mortals could wield God Ki. The violent gales being churned up would have blown away the onlookers if not for the barrier. As Goten rushed to Trunks' front, the two began to exchange blows. Trunks delivered a crushing blow to Goten's midsection. Goten responded with a hip kick to Trunks. Trunks swung around and slapped Goten in the back. Goten swayed his body back to evade Trunks' swing. Goten leapt up, ducking beneath his arm and butting the top of his head against Trunks' chin. Goten then struck a powerful gut punch before uppercutting his opponent and landing a spinning back kick to the stomach. As Trunks flew backward into the air, the Saiyan Prince hurled scores of ki blasts at Goten. Goten moved between Trunks' ki barrage's vacant areas and punched out while exclaiming, "Imagi punch." A little snake-shaped dragon composed of ki erupted from his hand and charged straight at Trunks. Trunks countered by cocking his fist and flying forward while yelling, "Great Ape's Fist." Behind him, the silhouette of a massive Uzaru punched out alongside his fist, striking into Goten's dragon construct. They soared back and landed on the sphere, looking each other down. They pushed their forms higher, exposing their true Super Saiyan God Blue forms as they grew stronger. "Who do you think will win?" Naruto questioned, turning his gaze to Goku. Goku stood next to Naruto as his supreme general, a superficial designation that allowed him to avoid all of Planet Salada's bureaucratic bullshit. Goku's power was only second to that of the royal family. He could go wherever he wanted, speak to everyone as an equal, regardless of position, and not be controlled by anyone on the globe. Nobody, not even the king. Goku gazed at the two fighting in the arena before scratching his chin and stating, "I don't know. They're both powerful, even as far as I can see. But if I had to bet," Goku said, placing his hand on his chin and tilting his head, "Goten would get my meal." "Why would you bet on food?" chuckled Naruto. "Why would you bet anything other than food?" Goku responded. "Kakarot, if you bet money, you could buy. You know what?" Naruto slapped his own face. "Never mind." A massive bang rang out, showing the two young Saiyans on the ground. They both appeared fatigued as they exchanged excited glances. The teens could both feel themselves growing stronger by the second. Trunks then revealed his newest form, true Super Saiyan God Purple, saying, "It's not too late to give up. Goten, all that rewards money. Consider the toys and video games." "You're not the only one who can go purple," Goten replied, "and I told you, I just want to have a fun fight." As the two stood across from one another, their abilities clashed. As their heads butted, purple lightning crackled around them. "Fine. We are not required to take third place. Come on, Goten, just join in the fun. There is only Ranch to contend with here. It's tedious," Trunks sighed. "You're just plotting to make me give up," Goten rolled his eyes. "I'll tell you what, I have a plan to fight in the Adult League," Trunks remarked after a little pause. Trunks swooped over and whispered something into Goten's ear, raising Goten's brow. The two abruptly stopped fighting and turned off their computers. "We give up," they exclaimed to the announcer. Naruto, Goku, and half the crowd collapsed, and the announcer, who had a perplexed smile on his face, stated, "Well, you heard it, folks, this round is a draw. Both fighters have been eliminated." Disappointed, Goku and Naruto shook their heads. Naruto was pretty sure he knew what they were up to. Unfortunately for them, things did not go as planned. "Well, they're still kids," Goku admitted, blushing. "They're probably planning on joining the Adults League. I blame you, Kakarot," Naruto stated with a grimace. "How is this my fault?" Goku screamed. Obviously, your way of playing around in combat has rotted their intelligence, Naruto responded with a retort. Goten and Trunks were both dragged out while they fake pouted. The next two contenders took the stage and squared off. The combat resumed, with Ranch against Bulla. The two Saiyans stepped onto the stage and powered up to their full potential. Both ladies had achieved true Super Saiyan God Blue, and their abilities shook the arena as they began to fight. The fight had begun. The two girls bashed their fists against each other, parrying and countering every strike they unleashed. Final Shine Attack. As a big beam flew at Ranch, Bulla yelled. In response to the unexpected ki onslaught, Ranch clasped her hands together and yelled, Saturday Crush. Their beams collided and cancelled each other out, resulting in a huge explosion that shattered the orb-like arena. Ranch flew through the smoke and lashed out at Bulla's face, not wasting any time. Shining Friday. Ranch's fist became energized with purple and orange electricity. Ranch's fist screamed as the lightning wrapping her arm was focused into a single purplish-pink energy sphere around her hand, and with a forceful swing, the lightning enveloping her arm was focused into a single purplish-pink energy sphere around her hand. Bulla raised her arms in defense and was knocked several steps back. Ranch was about to fight when she noticed her tail being seized by another Bulla. Ranch recognized the genuine body grasping her tail. Bulla made her body double the moment her punch made contact, taking the hit in Bulla's place. Ranch exclaimed with amazement. Despite training to overcome their tail's weakness, being caught by someone as powerful as themselves hurts like hell. Bulla punched Ranch's skull into the ground without hesitation. The dragon's wish broke the tiles like glass before it began to self-repair, with Ranch still within. Ranch, who was buried beneath stone, yelled angrily, causing her aura to flare fiercely. The platform trembled as she launched the stone substance encasing her body towards Bulla. Bulla dodged the rubble and delivered a spinning kick to Ranch's skull. Ranch grasped Bulla's foot as soon as it made contact with her face, significantly reducing the kinetic force of the hit. Ranch hauled Bulla into the air and gripped her ankle as tightly as she could after shaking off the damage. Bulla screamed in agony as Ranch slammed her face into the ground. The blue-haired native as a spiderweb rift stretched over the earth. Saiyan screamed in agony. Bulla felt herself being pulled into the air again before she could recover. Ranch quickly picked up Bulla from the ground and waved her arm in an attempt to slam her opponents back into the ground with another fierce slam. Bulla, on the other hand, threw out her foot and wrapped her knee around Ranch's neck at the pinnacle of Ranch's slam. Bulla lost her grasp on her ankle and managed to escape after a powerful elbow to Ranch's skull. Ranch wiped her brow before raising her arms and yelling, Crazy Monday. Dozens of tracking devices ki blast ejected from her grasp and charged towards Bulla's position. Bulla waved her palm and released counterblasts, destroying all of Ranch's ki orbs before they could reach her. As the two Saiyan children ran into the heart of the chaos and began fighting aggressively, a large sequence of explosions erupted. Bulla landed a hard uppercut to the bottom of Ranch's chin, throwing the Sun family member into the air. Ranch reacted by moving with the force of Bulla's attack and landing a backflip kick under Bulla's chin. They then began furiously striking out at each other. They were all delivering punches that would make a grown Saiyan cry. I apologize, Ranch Ne-chan, but I can't afford to lose. My dignity as a Saiyan princess will not allow it, Bulla yelled as she charged up. The brief was anxiously attempting to accelerate her transition. Ranch, on the other hand, teleported behind her and smacked her in the back of the skull with an overhead axe hammer smash. Ranch clenched her hands and drove them into Bulla, sending her crashing into the arena like a missile falling from orbit. No need to apologize, Bulla, Ranch said, shooting dust and debris into the air. Because I am going to win, I'm not going to sit here and wait for you to change. A purple beam shrouded in a bolt of lightning burst out of the haze just as Ranch was ready to land. Ranch, caught off guard, raised her hands just in time to deflect the explosion with her crossguard. The blast pierced Ranch's defenses and slashed a massive gash across her chest. Ranch then shouted out in agony as the image of Bulla grew clearer through the billowing smoke. Ranch's body rolled backwards against the ground as a result of Bulla's blow. She slammed her fist into the arena, causing her to lose her footing. While Ranch fell more than 10 feet, smoke trailed from the tips of her fingers. She finally came to a standstill and raised her head, shocked. Ranch peered into the approaching figure, striding amid the smoke and rubble, one hand pressed against the wound on her chest. Ranch began to feel dizzy as she realized the attack had done more harm than she had anticipated. Her knees shook as she attempted to stand. Ranch battled the impulse to pass out by smacking her face a few times. She gathered all of her remaining strength and dashed towards Bulla's location. Bulla assumed a protective posture, but her actions were sluggish. A big gust of wind blew over the arena just before Ranch's fists impacted Bulla's face, revealing Raditz. He was standing between the two, catching his daughter's fist and preventing her attack. Naruto also came by his daughter, supporting her as she collapsed. Then Naruto smiled and stated, "The winner is Ranch." When the announcer saw Bra's state, he exclaimed, "Incredible, it appears, young Bulla has passed out standing up. Even while unconscious, this young Saiyan warrior is anxious to fight." Naruto healed both of them and said, "Good match, you two." Bulla began to pout. Tears welled up in the corners of her eyes as she buried her face in Naruto's tummy and exclaimed, "I wanted to win. You managed to achieve true Super Saiyan God Purple. I'm proud of you." Naruto patted her head. "But I was defeated. I let you down, Papa," Bulla grumbled, sniffling and holding back tears. "You just achieved this form," Naruto chuckled, "so it's only logical for you to lose." "But winning isn't everything that's important," Naruto added, patting his daughter's head as he hugged her. "This struggle made you a lot stronger. Take that as a victory and strive to do better the following time." Bulla nodded and crossed the room to Ranch. "Thanks for the fight, Ranch," she remarked, holding out her hand. "Nei-chan, it was enjoyable." Ranch took her handshake and said, "Let's fight again someday." "Ah, I can't resist," Ranch said as she grabbed Bulla's arm and hugged her. "You're still adorable. You'll become even more powerful from now on. I'm confident you'll catch up in no time." "MN," said Bulla as she wiped the tears from her eyes. "That's all, ladies and gentlemen. Ranch is the winner in the second match," Mr. Announcer stated, eliciting tremendous applause from the audience. The next bout pitted Metalman against Cello. Guru had trained this little lad with the assistance and information provided by Naruto's wish. In comparison to their former deteriorated position as a species, the Namekians became far stronger than their counterparts in the original canon. Cello was their most recent prodigy. When he was 10, he became a real Super Namekian, and under the tutelage of both Guru and Kame, he narrowly missed becoming a Namekian god. The Metalman was a member of the gang Naruto scouted for the Galactic Patrol. They were distinct from the Metalmen of Universe 6. Unlike their Universe 6 counterparts, the Metalmen race was angry when they were called derogatory names. The only other significant difference Naruto noted was that they were incapable of accepting compliments. They would stop fighting and cover their embarrassed looks if you claimed the metal was shining and cool. Cello and Silver Maru faced each other, ready to fight. They ran to the center of the arena and smacked their fists together as soon as Mr. Announcer gave the signal. Cello returned, but he appeared to have done no damage. Because of his Namekian physiology, the bones in his arms fractured 1 second and were mended the next. "Incredible, the Namekian's regeneration abilities are truly something else," Naruto murmured, grabbing his chin. "It appears even more powerful in the hands of this young Namekian." "HMPH, he's alright, but he still has a lot to learn," Piccolo added. Cello vanished from view, only to re-emerge behind Silver Maru. He wrapped his arms around Silver Maru's body like cords before attempting to fling him off the stage. Cello charged up and continued to boost his ki levels. While attempting to lift Silver Maru, his face went red, and just as he reached for the metal monstrosity, Silver Maru began shooting lava at Cello, scorching off and cauterizing the Namekian's arms. Cello screamed in agony, but as soon as he did, he used his ki to cut off his arms past the burn lines and grow his lost limbs. Cello then pointed at Silver Maru and unleashed a highly concentrated ki blast. Special Beam Bullet. The assault had a lot of power, but it bounced off of the Metalman's chest and barely caused a dent. "I see, I can't hold back." Cello's antennae grew significantly longer while dragon-like scales sprouted on the surface of his skin. Unlike Super Saiyans, Namekians' physiques became more and more like genuine dragons as they moved through the stages of power. The hues of their scales varied depending on whether they began as warriors or dragon sages. Their scales would be emerald green if they were a dragon sage before becoming a Namekian god. Their scales turn crimson if they are from the warrior clan. Cello's fangs became more prominent as his skin began to turn red. The tail of a dragon emerged from the base of his spine. His scales glittered like metal, and his claws were razor sharp. Cello unleashed a shockwave across the arena with a thunderous dragon's roar, revealing the Namekian god form. "Well, it appears Namek has grown much stronger since my last visit," Piccolo stated with a smile. As Cello charged at him, the Metalman's eyes widened in wonder. Cello's head collided with Silver Maru's chest, causing the gigantic metal construct's feet to sag. The massive living creature tore up the ground with his feet, refusing to stop until he felt himself being lifted. Cello's goal was to knock him out of the ring in a single move. Silver Maru raised its hands in response to the threat and slammed them into Cello's back. The metal man then gripped the Namekian's waist, its metal three-pronged claws slightly pressing into his flesh. Cello grumbled but battled his agony. As the metal man attempted to raise him, Cello unleashed a tremendous barrage of stretching punches that allowed him to cover the gap. Cello's fist crashed against the metallic surface, causing dents in Silver Maru's chest and loud ringing noises that resonated throughout the arena. Ding, clang, bang, ding. With each attack, Silver Maru was lifted higher into the air, bringing him closer to the barrier. To gain space, Silver Maru sprayed lava around them. Cello backed up, almost avoiding the boiling stuff while muttering, "Damn magma monster." Silver Maru became enraged by the insult and began slamming its own chest. As the metal man proceeded to perfect its own body, its body turned red and heated up. The dents quickly sprang back out, showing a fresh, smooth, and beautiful surface, much like steel being worked in the forge. Silver Maru then cockily raised its arms as if to say, "Aren't I amazing?" Cello was aware that Silver Maru's strength had abruptly increased at an exponential rate. His iron skin became even tougher, to the point where not even Goku or Naruto thought they'd be able to break through it. "You are quite strong. The strongest person I've ever fought," Cello remarked. "I'm not going to hold back any longer." Silver Maru's metal skin became red as it placed its hands over its face, just as Cello finished speaking. Everyone in the audience held their breath, believing it was some kind of new attack. Silver Maru abruptly stopped struggling. Cello was perplexed, but he took advantage of the circumstances to easily knock Silver Maru off the stage. Silver Maru became aware of what was going on, but it was too late. His body was thrown into the air, crashing into the barrier before going through it. When the robot man slammed into the earth outside the hard light barrier, a cloud of dust soared into the sky. A deep sense of silence pervaded the spectator seats. Even Cello was taken aback by the incident, and it took the announcer's voice to bring everyone back to reality. "Well, there you have it, everyone. By ringing out, the Cello has won." The crowd cheered, although it felt a little emotionless. Cello then turned off his computer and bowed to the audience before exiting the arena. Utur faced off against Rad next. Utur was their most promising youth and a combat-type Yardration warrior. His skill in spirit control was regarded as among the best in their race. Utur has a low stature but a lot of muscle. His skin was pale blue, with many huge dark blue markings on his backside. He wore the classic Yardration armor and a cobalt metallic mask over his face. Rad belonged to the three-eyed race and resided on planet Metamor. Tien, the Grand Master, and numerous other masters on the planet trained him. They had high hopes for this young man. He had long black braids, a good-looking mug, and a little broad chin. Rad's body was in good shape, with scarcely any fat visible on his lean muscles and a single blue eye in his third eye. He simply wore a white tank top underneath his Metamorian fusion suit, loose martial pants, a black belt, ankle wraps, and white sandals. The moment the announcer said, "Begin," Utur and Rad faced each other and rushed right into the fight. Rad ran forward and smacked his fist against the ground to test the waves. Utur smirked and shrank to the size of an ant before sprinting up Rad's arm and punching him in the face. Rad was thrown backwards by the force of the attack, and before Rad could counter, Utur used instant transmission to teleport behind Rad and kick him in the head. "It looks like a bad start for young Rad," the announcer said as Rad moved forward. "Yardration's methods are truly fascinating. He appears to have shrunk down to make himself more difficult to hit, and the speed of a teleportation technique is now preventing Rad from making any moves." Rad leapt back up, only to find himself surrounded by clones. Utur utilized all of his strength to assault the three-eyed warrior from all sides. Rad exclaimed, "Silver skin," before taking a deep breath and beginning to change the color of his pigments. The Metamorian's skin turned from peach to almost entirely silver. While the Yardration clones all hoped on him with a wave of attacks, his arms were positioned in a cross block. Metal being struck rang out before Rad pushed his arms out in a fierce shove. The burst of wind and ki sent the clone dogpile flying in all directions. Utur's little form was launched into the air, causing him to reabsorb the clones he had split off earlier. Utur's stature increased when his clones returned to his body, making him an easy target. Rad then utilized a strong movement technique to encircle Utur with his own clones. All 5 of Rad's clones gained new limbs while standing ready in the Neo Tri-Beam posture, according to a technique known as the 3 heads and 6 arms technique. They each charged up a terrifyingly high level of ki coupled with life force. Udo attempted to leave the circle with his instant transmission when another clone of Rad's broke his opponent's focus with a solar flare at point-blank range. During the solar flare's blinding light, all of Rad's duplicates united with the original, along with the energy his clones had amassed. Rad buffed up his ki even more by assuming the tri-beam position with all 3 sets of arms before exclaiming, "Neo Trinity Beam." A huge explosion shook the arena as he unleashed large pyramids aimed toward Rad's body. The 3 pyramids collided and merged before bursting with a powerful pulse of heat and fire. A battered Udo leapt into the air, instantly mending himself and coming to a halt inches from the barrier. However, as soon as he came to a halt, Udo teleported back to the ground and transformed into a massive 14-foot yardration. Udo waved his arms together, forming a massive and thick energy chain. The yardration swung the chain out towards Rad, using it as a whip to restrain his opponent's movements. Rad jumped back, almost avoiding the chain wrapping around his lower half. The Metamorian's 6 hands joined together as if in prayer as he yelled, "Blood Asura technique. 9-9 revolution." Fists of the wrathful Asura. His metallic-colored skin flashed brilliant red as his power tripled. All 6 of his arms erupted in a flurry of blows in response to Udo's attacks. When Udo swung the massive energy chain at Rad, he easily punched it away. Everyone with a sense realized something was wrong with the technique. Each time the Metamorian's punches landed, they became stronger. Rad's strength doubled every 9 punches, and when his 11th set of 9 punches landed, it was almost 2,048 times stronger than his first attack before breaking the stalemate. The chain snapped beneath the strain, and Udo was flung into the arena's barrier. The yardration's back smacked into the invisible wall, causing a loud, whop, sound. The announcer raised his arms in the air and exclaimed, "Out of bounds," as he crashed through the barrier and onto the ground. "What a fantastic match! What effective methods! Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Rad, the winner of this fierce battle." The crowd applauded as the medics gave each a senzu bean to help them recuperate. The competitors stood on stage and shook hands, causing the audience to cheer even harder. The next match was human versus human, with Utur taking on Terra. Utur had white hair that was short and buzzed, crimson eyes, and a well-built frame. He had 6 incense burns on his brow and a baby face. Utur had a Buddhist background because his idol was Krillin. He was dressed in an orange and blue monk's robe with the Kame emblem sewn across the back. He had an aloof demeanor, as if the world around him didn't exist, as if nothing around him mattered. Terra had dark blue eyes, long black hair, a mature figure, and well-toned muscles. Standing 6 feet tall, she's dressed in a Kame-style orange and blue martial GI top with an orange hakama tucked into her boots. The young lady stood poised for the fight of her life. She appeared considerably more mature than her age would allow. There was even some doubt regarding her true age. Some assumed she was 20 or older. Every time her age was mentioned, the poor 15-year-old girl felt like crying. The two took their places on the stage, facing each other. They then bowed to the audience, followed by each other. The 2 Earthlings smiled as they stood a few feet apart in their battle stances. "I'm sorry, Terra, but I want to win this match, so I'm not going to back down, even if it means going against you," Utur stated. "Krillin's watching, but so is Vital. Do you think I'd embarrass my master?" Terra smiled. "Begin," the announcer yelled, causing them to leap at each other with dizzying speed. As the 2 clashed, their arms blurred as they struck out and began to perfectly block each other's assaults. To minimize harm, each blow was precisely blocked and redirected. As they proceeded to hit and kick each other, it appeared as if they were dancing. An orange aura engulfed them both. Since Krillin created the Kaio Zenkan technique, he has passed it down to all of humanity, primarily the Kame school, but the power to enter the state of nothingness has been passed down exclusively to his solitary disciple, Utur. The 2 increased their surge to ×50 and continued to fight on equal terms. The crowd was stunned by their might before erupting into wild cheers. Their movements got increasingly complicated as their combined force caused innumerable shockwaves. As they came to a halt, their open palms collided. While punching out with their spare hand, the ki gathing in their palms held them in place. Utur deflected a punch before transforming his palm into a blade and stabbing out. Terra leaned to the side and felt his fingers tearing through her GI as she fashioned a small hand and tried to poke his eyes out. Utura lowered his neck to block with his forehead. Terra, on the other hand, opened her hand and switched to a palm attack the minute he did. Her open hand smacked into his brow, but she didn't feel it. Utura craned his neck back and raised his foot towards her tummy at the last second. Terra gave up the key battle and backed off, evading the kick, before leaping off his leg and attempting to kick him in the chin. Utura flew up to meet her, leaning beneath her kick. Their limbs blurred as they began to damage their surrounding arena with each attack. Krillin scowled, shook his head, and questioned his disciple's motivations. What the hell is he doing? What's up? Goku asked his longtime companion. Krillin looked at him and said, I told him not to go easy on her, but it seems my disciple's biggest flaw hasn't been fixed yet. Eh? Naruto furrowed his brow. He can't hit girls. No matter how hard he fought other female disciples, he would pull his punches. To be honest, he could win if he just used his secret weapon, Krillin replied solemnly. So he managed to do it, eh? Naruto smiled. To be continued.
That's it for this part, guys. Thanks for listening to this video. I hope it did enjoy the story, and if it did, like, share, and subscribe for more. And thank you all for helping support, and have a great day.